the UK is suspending some arms export licenses to Israel over fears they could be used to breach international humanitarian law. Foreign Secretary David Lammy told the Commons this afternoon that the government is halting 30 out of 350 licenses. He said a review conducted by the UK government could not arbitrate on whether or not Israel has breached international humanitarian law in Gaza, but ministers have a legal duty to review export licenses. Mr. Lammy said the criteria states the government will not issue export licenses if there is a clear risk that the items might be used to commit or facilitate serious violations of international humanitarian law. It is with regret that I inform the House today that the assessment I have received leaves me unable to conclude anything other than that for certain UK arms exports to Israel there does exist a clear risk that they might be used to commit or facilitate a serious violation of international humanitarian law. I have informed the Business and Trade Secretary and he is therefore today announcing the suspension of around 30 from a total of approximately 350 to Israel, as required under the Export Control Act. These include equipment that we assess is for use in the current conflict in Gaza. Mr. Lammy said the government does not take this decision lightly and stressed it is not an arms embargo. Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds, in a written ministerial statement, said, "This includes components for fighter aircraft, F-16s, parts for unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, naval systems, and targeting equipment." The government condemned Hamas' barbaric attack on October 7 and supports Israel's right to defend itself in line with international law. The government is also working intensively with international partners to encourage wider regional de-escalation in the context of recent events. This is not a blanket ban but targets relevant licenses that could be used in military operations in Gaza. Assessments of Israel's commitment to international humanitarian law will continue, including with regard to the provision of food and medical supplies to civilians in Gaza and the treatment of detainees, and may change over time to allow reinstatement of these licenses. He added, the UK stresses that there is no equivalence between Hamas terrorists and Israel's democratic government. The UK remains committed to supporting Israel's self-defense. But to license arms exports to Israel, the UK must assess their compliance with international humanitarian law, notwithstanding the abhorrence of their opponents' tactics and ideology. The war began last October when Hamas militants broke into Israel, killing around 1,200 people, mostly civilians, and abducting around 250 others. More than 40,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israel's counterattack in Gaza, according to the territory's Hamas-run health ministry, which does not distinguish between combatants and civilians in its count.